Good morning, children. I think I am audible to you all. Yes, beta, am I audible? The board is clear. Okay, fine. So yesterday we started with the chapter ecosystem, and in that chapter I told you about productivity. I told you about the 4 factors of the ecosystem, in which I told you the 4 factors are productivity, decomposition, energy flow, and nutrient cycle. Then I was discussing productivity with you, and I told you that there are 2 types of productivity, primary and secondary. So in that I told you that the primary productivity is one, and secondary productivity is secondary productivity is another. The primary productivity is the organic matter produced by organic matter synthesized by the producers. And who are the producers? Producers are plants. The organic matter synthesized by the plants are they the whatever organic matter they synthesize, that is known as primary productivity, and they synthesize this by the process of photosynthesis. Photosynthesis is the process by which they produce this. And secondary productivity is the organic matter which is produced by the same thing, organic matter synthesized by the consumers. So this is secondary productivity. And then in this, I told you that there are 2 terms, GPP and NPP. GPP is the gross primary productivity and NPP is the net primary productivity. So what is the difference between the two, gross primary productivity and net primary productivity? This I'm going to tell you now. The gross primary productivity the GPP or the gross primary productivity, this is the total amount of organic gross primary productivity is the total amount of total mass of total amount of organic matter synthesized by the producers in their lifespan. Now, because these are producers and producers are green plants, so actually what happens, the amount of energy which is lost by them by various processes is little, because they do not show any locomotion, no locomotion. Okay, they do not show any locomotion, they do not show any digestion, no digestion, just what they show is by the all these processes, they, because of when the body performs all these processes, energy is lost from the body. So the only process by which energy is lost from the body is respiration. So I told you respiration is the only process by which the energy is lost from the body. So energy, that means organic matter. So there is another term, net primary production, NPP. NPP, which is net primary production. This is net primary production. This is GPP, gross primary production, minus energy lost. And that energy which is lost in them is by the process of respiration. Because the plants perform the process of respiration, and because of this process, energy is lost. So this gives you NPP. Net primary production is the energy lost from the gross primary production, and this gives you NPP. Same way in here also, secondary productivity is the organic matter which is synthesized by the consumers, and these consumers, they show a number of processes by which they lose the energy. They are capable, they show locomotion. Okay, a number of processes, locomotion, they show digestion, they show muscular movements, they show respiration, various processes. And the most important out of all is this. So this NPP in this case, is GPP minus energy lost by these processes. This gives you NPP. So this tells that what is NPP and what is GPP in case of productivity. So this was the first factor of ecosystem, which is productivity. Any query in this, beta? Any query in this, the first factor? Yes, bache? Any query in this? Any question in this, the first factor which I have explained? Yes, beta? Yes? Okay, fine. We come to the second process, second parameter or second factor of the ecosystem, which is decomposition. The second factor is decomposition. Decomposition is the second factor. As the name indicates, it is the breakdown of organic matter. It is an aerobic process. First of all, I'll tell you that it is an aerobic process. That means oxygen is required for this process to continue. Oxygen is required. This process takes place in the presence of oxygen. And what happens in this process? During this process, the organic matter which is formed as a result of productivity. Organic matter is formed as a result of productivity, primary production and the secondary production. That produces organic matter. So this organic matter is produced as a result of productivity. This organic matter is degraded. Organic matter is degraded. Or we can say degradation of organic matter or breakdown of organic matter. When the organic matter is broken down, what happens because of the result of this breaking down of organic matter or decomposition or degradation of organic matter, what happens? The minerals are released. And these released minerals which are released as a result of breakdown of organic matter, these are made available to the plants so that they can use it for their growth. Now, one more process which is related with the release of matter, release of minerals, is leaching. Leaching. Leaching is associated with the percolation of minerals deep into the earth. What happens when the minerals are released? Now listen to me very carefully. When the minerals are released as a result of degradation of organic matters, these minerals along with water, they percolate deep into the soil. The minerals percolate deep into the soil. And when they reach deep into the soil, see, some of it is utilized by the plant, but most of them, they percolate deep into the soil. And when they reach in the deeper areas of the soil, when they reach deep into the soil, there what happens? The minerals, they solidify. Or precipitate. They solidify, that means they precipitate. So deep into the soil, the minerals precipitate or they solidify. And then when they precipitate, the minerals are not available. Minerals are not available for the growth of the plant because they have solidified, they have precipitated. So the minerals are not available to the plant for their growth. As a result, what happens? They are not used up, they remain there. So this is not a very good process, because the minerals, when the decomposition takes place, the minerals, they are released, and if they reach down there, what happens? They are not available to the plant, they solidify, and they solidify in the form of precipitates, and these are not available to the plants. Then what happens? Another thing which is very important and which makes the mineral available to the plants is humus. Humus. That is why it is said that the soil with humus is considered to be, very fertile. So humus containing soil is considered to be fertile. Is very fertile. It is considered to be very fertile. It is a dark colored substance, colloidal substance. It is resistant to microbial activity. This humus, one more property, it is dark colored substance. It is dark colored colloidal substance. And another property of this is it is resistant to microbial activities. So when this humus is resistant to microbial activity, what happens? It doesn't get degraded very fast. If it is, if the degradation takes place, it is very slow. So what happens? Slowly, when the rate of degradation is slow, slowly the minerals are released and they are available for the plants for their growth. That is why it is said that the humus-rich soil is very fertile, because of this property that it is resistant to microbial activity. And if the microbial activity is seen, its rate is very slow. So what happens? The organic matter is degraded very slowly, and very slowly the minerals are released and are made available for the growth of the plant. Whereas if the decomposition rate is fast, in the presence of oxygen, what happens? Leaching takes place. That means the minerals, they percolate deep into the soil where they precipitate or solidified, and those minerals are not available to the plants for their growth. So leaching is not considered to be a very favorable process for the growth of the plant. So this was about humus. And then there is what happens during this. First of all, I'll tell you the process of decomposition by taking an example. Suppose we have fresh leaves. There are fresh leaves. These fresh leaves, they undergo the process of fragmentation. Fragmentation, as a result of fragmentation, what will happen? That the leaves, they will break into small pieces, and these small pieces, they form detritus. The earthworms, they do it, detritus. And then once they are broken down into small pieces and they become detritus, they are further broken down by the process of humification. And as a result, they are broken down into humus, this dark colored colloidal substance, which is humus. Now, when this humus, by a slow degradation activity, when the microbial activity is very slow, where the microbial activity is very slow, because this humus is resistant to the microbial activity, it is very slow. What happens? Another process takes place, and that process is known as mineralization. And as a result of mineralization, what happens? The minerals are released. And this is the complete process of decomposition. When I have taken the example of fresh leaves are there, they undergo the process of fragmentation, and as a result of fragmentation, the fresh leaves, the big leaves, or a complete leaf, is broken down into small fragments, which are known as detritus. This detritus undergoes the process of humification when they are degraded more and gets converted into humus. This humus is resistant to microbial activity, and the rate of microbial activity is very slow. This humus undergoes a very slow degradation process, which is known as mineralization, and they get converted into minerals. Slowly the minerals are released and are available to the plants. So that is why the soil which is rich in humus is considered to be very fertile for the growth of the plants. So till here, is it clear? Any query in this decomposition part? Yes, beta. Any query in this decomposition part? Yes, beta. Any question? Clear. Fine. Okay. Suksahaj is saying clear. Paras is also saying clear. So I'll move to the next, the factors affecting decomposition. The next topic is the factors affecting rate of decomposition. The factors affecting the rate of decomposition. In this, first of all, the first factor which affects is the chemical nature of detritus. The chemical nature of detritus. Chemical nature of detritus. Chemical nature of detritus means the small particles of a big structure which are formed as a result of fragmentation. That means a big leaf, when it undergoes the process of fragmentation, it gets broken down into small pieces, which is known as detritus. So the chemical nature, if this detritus is rich in lignin, cellulose, and chitin, if this detritus, I'll write here, detritus rich in cellulose, lignin, and one more thing, chitin. It decomposes slowly. That means if there is large number of cellulose, lignin, or chitin present, then the rate of decomposition is slow. But if the detritus, it is rich in nitrogenous compounds, sugar, reserve carbohydrates. I'll write here, if it is rich in nitrogenous compounds, sugars, and reserve CHO. CHO is carbohydrates. If it is rich in nitrogenous compounds, sugars, and reserve carbohydrates, then the rate of decomposition is fast. Then the rate of decomposition is fast. So if it is rich in cellulose, lignin, the rate of decomposition is slow. And if it is rich in nitrogenous compound, sugar, reserve carbohydrate, then the rate of decomposition is fast. Now another thing, soil pH, which is going to affect is soil pH. Number 2, pH of the soil. What should be the pH of the soil so that the rate of decomposition is fast. Always if the soil is acidic, there are two conditions: acidic soil, the rate of decomposition is slow. Alkaline soil, the rate of decomposition is fast. So this is the next factor, the soil, whether it is acidic or it is basic. That is presence of oxygen, presence of sufficient amount of oxygen. Because I told you that decomposition is an aerobic. So presence of oxygen, the rate is fast. The rate of decomposition is fast because it is a aerobic process. So rate of decomposition is fast if the oxygen is present. Now one more is there which affects the rate of decomposition, and that is temperature and moisture. Temperature and moisture. These are two more factors which affect the rate of decomposition. See, will be the decomposition will not take place. In cold, when it is cold, even the milk, it doesn't get spoiled in winters, even if it is not kept in fridge, because the rate of decomposition is slow. So same thing, if the temperature is low, then also the decomposition rate will be hampered. The decomposition will not take place. If it is too high, very fast, but still the proper decomposition will not take place. But if the temperature is optimum, the rate of decomposition is good. So an optimum temperature is required. Optimum temperature. And along with this optimum temperature, moisture is also required. If the conditions are dry, then decomposition is not possible. Always some moisture is required for the process of decomposition. So presence of moisture, optimum temperature and presence of moisture. These are the two factors which affect the rate of decomposition. If the moisture will be less, there won't be any moisture, then the decomposition will not take place. Same way, the temperature should be optimum, then only the decomposition will take place. So this was about the decomposition, the factors affecting the rate of decomposition, and what is decomposition. So this was about it. Now, any query in this, beta? Any question in this? Any question in this? Yes, bache? Okay, fine, it's clear. Sukh Sahaj is saying. Now we come to another topic. Okay, fine, Paras, I have seen your text. Okay, now we come to another one, energy flow. Another factor, which is energy flow. Another factor of ecosystem, which is energy flow. So energy flow, this is another factor of ecosystem. This is first the synthesis of organic matter, and then this organic matter from one trophic level, it is passed on to the next trophic level in the form of energy. Some is lost into the environment, some is used up by the organism, and then whatever is left, it is passed over to the next organism. Now, what is this energy flow? Now here, the ultimate source of energy, as you all know, is sun. So solar radiations. Solar radiations are there. First ultimate source is solar radiations. And from the solar radiations, some radiations are photosynthetically active radiations, or known as PAR. We have a term PAR. PAR is photosynthetically active radiations. That means out of the solar radiations, some radiations can participate in the process of photosynthesis. Only some radiations can participate in the process of photosynthesis, and those radiations are known as photosynthetically active radiations, or PAR. Out of the total, all the solar radiations, only 50% are PAR. Out of this, only 50%. 50% of the total solar radiations are PAR. That means photosynthetically active radiation. Now, out of this 50% photosynthetically active radiations, what happens that 45 to 49% are not utilized. 45 to 49% are not utilized. See, out of total 100%, only 50 are photosynthetically active. Out of that also 45 to 49% are not utilized. Only 1 to 5% are utilized for photosynthesis. So how much is utilized for photosynthesis? 1 to 5%, only this much is utilized for photosynthesis. Only 1 to 5% is utilized for photosynthesis. Out of this, 0.2 to 1% is lost in respiration. Out of this, out of all that, out of this 1 to 5%, out of this 1 to 5%, 0.2 to 1% is lost in respiration, because this is a process which is taken up by both animals and plants. So 0.2 to 1% is lost in respiration. So this is considered to be the GPP, gross primary production, and out of this is lost in the process of respiration. So what we are left with? We are left with NPP, or net primary production. NPP, net primary production, as a result is 0.8 to 4%. 0.8 to 4% is net primary production. So this is what happens. This is the energy flow diagrammatic. That means solar radiation, out of the 100% solar radiations, only 50% radiations are photosynthetically active, and out of that 50% also 45 to 49% are not utilized. They escape in the environment. Only 1 to 5% are utilized for photosynthesis, which is a gross primary production. Out of this gross primary production, 0.2 to 1% is lost in the process of respiration. You know, both animals and plants, they undergo the process of respiration. So out of that lost, what are we left with? We are left with only 0.8 to 4%, which is net primary production. So this is what we get as a result of energy flow. This is only the portion which is utilized and is available in the form of organic matter. Now, here there is one term in this, trophic level. I have used this term again and again, trophic level. Trophic level are basically stratas, different stratas or different layers. And if we want to define, we'll say the functional site of an organism. Functional site of an organism. Now, in the nature, we have food chains. There is another term, food chain. Food chain. Food chain is dependence of one organism on another for their nutritional requirements. Okay, like we have grass, and this grass is eaten up by, say, in the book, the example of a herbivore given is goat, and after goat, another example, which is eaten up, goat, say, lion. So this is the producer, This is the producer, this is the primary consumer, and this is the secondary consumer. But do we have such chains in the nature? In nature, do we find such chains? Strictly that that the grass is eaten up strictly by a goat and this goat is eaten up strictly by a lion. No, we do not find such food chains in the nature. In the nature, what is available are food webs. Food webs are seen in the nature. That means there are various options available. That means if we see this grass, along with grass, we have some more producers. We have uh, herbs, we have shrubs, we have trees. These all are the we have trees. These all are, you know what? These all are the producers. And if we write here primary consumer, let's write here